Hey, Jeff, I think I found my spark.
Oh, nice, man. What is it?
Podcasting.
Keep your day job.
Welcome into the Bro 4 Squad podcast. We're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. I am your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek, and this is our review, spoilers review, of the movie Soul. Joining me is the mad scientist Brian Banner and the American hero Nate Thurman to review this movie as we do all of our movies on the 5 Bro 4 Squad criteria, which is the acting, the story, our favorite scene, any impact going forward, and its rewatchability. Brian, we'll start with you. I know you maybe were not in the most sound state of mind when you watched this, maybe a little bit distracted, but Disney Pixar, Soul came out. What'd you think of the performances in it?
So, I thought it took me a while because I knew Jamie Foxx was in this. And I knew he was the main character. That didn't sound like him to me. Did it to you guys?
I agree. Like I caught myself like really focusing on his voice some of the time and be like, I know it's him,
but it doesn't sound like him. And I think
I don't know what it was.
I think that was a good thing. I
don't
mean,
think
not
it was
that
a
it would
bad
have been
thing. It's just
not that it would have
something
been
we
a
noticed.
bad thing, but it was. I was impressed. I was like, oh, hey, look at that, Jamie Foxx, good job.
He doesn't sound like motherfucker Jones.
Wow, I didn't
In
realize
this one.
Motherfucker Jones was Joe, but that's definitely a way to think about it. As I've always said with Jamie Foxx, when he actually tries, he's of course an incredible performer. The problem is, Amazing Spider-Man 2, he'll take a paycheck, and if he's not that interested in the material, he will mail it in, which I've...
Well, he was obviously good enough to get another crack at it.
Yeah, but Benedict at that point, I thought he was awesome in this. It's weird because I didn't, obviously not knowing what the plot was going to be, I didn't realize that Tina Fey, who I also think was incredible, was actually going to be voicing Joe for probably the majority of the movie, right? Would you say 22 is in Joe's body more often than not in this film?
Yeah.
Yeah,
At least
probably
50-50.
pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
I think so. And
I mean, either one of them are really only in his body maybe half the movie, so they spent quite a bit of time in
about 50%.
like
no. Like nobody was in Joe's body for half the movie.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
And
yeah.
then of the other half, guys.
Okay. I was
Who's
like,
a fucking idiot now?
Yeah, Banner, that's what I just said.
Well,
I
mean,
get what you're saying.
I still
now.
think you are, but yeah. Because I'm
But yeah, Tina Fey did great. She did her normal kind of snarkiness with her character, and then I mean, not getting into like the plot or anything right now, but just kind of sticking with the acting. It was a fun dynamic, kind of a new dynamic. You'll see this trope in movies a lot, but like someone in like a new body or something. But it was fun seeing that played out because someone who's been alive in quotes for
Right.
however many hundreds of years, and never having legs and having to learn that was a fun little intro and into Tina Fey into Joe's body, but that was fun.
I mean, Hollywood's going to keep doing it till it's not funny, and we haven't reached that point yet. So,
No.
like person learning to walk. A few other names you might not. I mean, the voice cast in this, like, not a lot of like massive star power outside of the top two, and Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey. But Graham Norton was Moonwind, who I only know him from his talk show, and I actually thought, I mean, he was very eccentric, obviously, but I thought he was really fun in this movie.
Yeah, he was. He played a really, really cool role in here. It's kind of they put him in like such a weird, I don't know, say occupation, but job for what he was doing, like an enlightened sign flipper.
I love that though. Like
That was so cool.
again, just goes to the Jamie Foxx point. Whatever your job is, just do it 100%.
Yeah.
And then one other one I had that I thought was kind of cool. Angela Bassett was Dorothea, whose character obviously is a bigger part in the story than her actual role. But I mean, she's obviously great and everything. So
Yeah, there were a couple other that I'll throw in there, and they kind of had minor roles, but big names if you throw them out there. Questlove was Curly.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
In
nice.
this, and so that was kind of cool. He played the drums in the movie, so that was kind of a nod to himself. But and then another one, I saw this on the cast, and I was really excited to see him kind of play a bigger part, but he didn't. But it was Daveed Diggs of Hamilton fame and Snowpiercer, the series recently, but I haven't seen that yet. But just after seeing his performances and some other things, I was excited to see him, and he kind of played a douche of a character. He's only in it for 5 minutes, but it was cool getting to see him get a voice acting role.
So remind me again who Paul is.
He's like the dick in the barber shop, and then his soul gets taken by the accountant for a second and then gets put back in. That was him.
Got it.
Yeah.
I did like how Doris Burke was in it for the quick. We can get into this in best scene, but the clip where it says 22's been messing with the Knicks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Forever.
I loved that scene.
That was a great nod to to the sports fans out there.
That was a laugh out loud scene. And Knicks fans are like, I fucking knew it, bro. That's why.
They're like, okay, cat's out of the bag now. Let's go.
I mean, it's still James Dolan says he's not off the hook.
Now 22's on Earth. She's not going to be fucking with us anymore.
It's all you, Obi Toppin. All right. Anything else? You guys will move on to the story.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's get to the story here.
All right. So we got to say, I think what Pixar has become, just their bread and butter, is coming up with a story that is incredibly creative, gives you sort of a different look at something through animation, and then always tugs at your heartstrings in the end. So, Nate, as far as those 3 boxes that I would usually put on any survey for a Pixar film, I think they checked 3 out of 3. What did you think?
Yeah, and like that's one of the main things I had written down here for some of my notes. Not exactly verbatim what you said, but kind of goes along the same lines as, hey, Disney Pixar, they have these themes that they hit, and I think they nailed it on this one too. And one of the things I wrote down was having an adult theme, but then tying it in and making it very kid relatable. So they obviously get into like the soul of adults and maybe having some dead souls and maybe tug on some people's heartstrings. Oh shit, I do sit at a computer all day and I don't have I'm not feeling the best right now. But and you sit there and think like, damn, that's actually kind of adult dark theme, but they fancy it up a little bit and make it kid appropriate. But they definitely nailed it with that one. Like some others, like Zootopia, there's some other themes that are brought in that when I watched that, I was like, damn, that's pretty not racy, but pretty adult themed, and they fit it in there. But going along those lines, like the whole soul, what was the name of it where the souls were? The seminar.
The Great Before.
The Great
Beyond?
Before.
The Great Before, that's right.
Great Before, yeah. So kind of the same thing. They're taking like they're making that, which has never been really put into like a business model, into a business model. They're bringing, there's an accountant here. They've got the counselor, the Jerrys, who are kind of like HR, like running everything.
The Jerrys cracked me up.
They did.
They were
really
especially near the end where they just fuck with the accountant and flip over the abacus at that
Yeah.
one. Like, oh, never mind, didn't see anything.
Just move that one bead and everything's good. He won't remember that stuff.
Yeah, he's going through all these files, but he's not going to recognize that one bead over. But yeah, that was the other thing, kind of like putting it as a business, like, oh, this is a company and this is how it's run and all this kind of stuff, but very kid friendly, and they kind of put some of those tropes in there. But yeah, they nailed it with this, and it's crazy how these simple things that they keep hitting on, they keep doing well. And it's really, I don't want to say like a paint by numbers, but sometimes it does feel that way. But kudos to them because it's still working and it's still making blockbuster hits out there.
Yeah. And Banner, you said off pod, this concept, although I think it worked for you, as far as a story, it's really conceptually out there. And so to come up with it, you either need to be crazy or a genius or a little bit of both. And there's a chance maybe it was too much for some people, but I think they did a good job of making something that could be heavy subject matter. One of those things that's adapted where kids don't even realize what the message is, and then adults can appreciate it, at least as they watch it.
The biggest thing I came out of this is a movie that if I watched as a child, let's go back to the mid to late 90s, and this came out, I would have loved this as a kid. There's music, there's funny humor that I understand, the colors, and like visually this thing was incredible. with the Jerrys and the accountant kind of being these lines and flying through Soul World or whatever it is. Really would have loved it as a kid. Then I go back and watch it as an adult, and I'm like, fuck, I loved this for 100% different reasons. It really makes you think about, like, just where you came from, what you're doing with your life, what would happen if somebody else sat into your shoes for a day. What would they do, or what do they do? What would they do that's different that you think, you know what, maybe I could do that differently. So again, like you said, it works on every level. And I think that's something that's big that, again, Pixar, that's their bread and butter. That's what they're good at. If they don't do that, they made a bad movie. And to date, I don't really know if they've made a bad movie.
No, probably not.
I mean,
And
Finding
like you were
Dory,
saying,
probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say Finding Dory. but
okay.
If that's your worst,
Like-
movie, good job.
like adults, like you said, can probably pull something out of this. And like, it's kind of like a self-reflection thing at that point.
For sure.
But kids, like, it kind of goes along like the theme of kids, like, what do I want to be when I grow up? So that's like what they're gonna attach onto and be like, oh, what do I want to be and what excites me and things like that. But it's funny because, like you're saying, you could get two different things out of it, but at the root, like the root of it is still the same. It's making you reflect on things because of the same message and the same thing they're delivering. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that whole, finding your spark, which ends up being sort of one of the key plot devices in the whole film. Like both of you guys were saying, kids and adults look at it two different ways. Kids say, oh, I can't wait to find the thing that I'm passionate about. And adults could say, like, whatever it was, if I've stopped pursuing it, like, why? Why did I lose that invigoration that I once had towards life, and how do I get it back? Which that's the thing with Joe is, like, I can't go now because I'm not being facetious. This is maybe going to be the biggest day of my life. And that motivation is, I think, great for the plot. And obviously has, like, you at home, like, come on, just help him out, Jerry's and Terry's.
And I felt like they did a great job of showing, like, he has a life, but he really doesn't like it, but he doesn't realize he doesn't like it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly, they set the stage, which, again, Pixar is really good at this. I think Up is probably their best example of this. In the first 15 minutes, I mean, you hit all the feelies in that movie, but they set up
the director of Up.
Exactly what's going into... I don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, it's the same guy who
Is
did
it the
this.
same guy? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Pete
Pete Doctor. Yeah.
there you go then.
Co-directed by Kemp Powers. That's a fucking name. All right, we're ready to move on to
Sorry, I
best
didn't mean to
scene?
throw you off there.
No, you're good. Banner, do you want to finish that thought, or are you ready to go to best scene?
No, let's go to best scene.
All right, why don't you go first, Banner?
So my best scene actually I think is going to be when Joe and 22 first come back to Earth, and we learn that 22 is in Joe's body, and Joe is actually as a cat. Did not see that coming. Thought it worked perfectly. It was hilarious. And then them escaping the hospital, just thinking like how unrealistic that is, but yet how I could see it totally happening all at the same time.
It was kind of like a mix on Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
Switching bodies. But then I also got a big feel of Harry Potter, and a specific line from the seventh book reminded me of that, because basically the soul came into the world and just attached to the closest living thing it found, which is what part of Voldemort's soul does to Harry. So for all you Harry Potter nerds out there, there's kind of a correlation.
Interesting. Totally did not get that vibe.
Wonder why.
My scene. Sorry, you done, Banner?
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
No,
So,
you're
yes.
good. Or
Are you done? No, I'm good.
I just needed to end it on my terms.
okay. What's the line from Forgetting Sarah Marshall? I'll sit down, but just so you know, I'm sitting down because I've chosen to sit down, not because you've asked me to.
It's on my accord.
My favorite scene was, man, I went back and forth on this one, but I'm going to end up with the scene where Joe goes, well, I guess it's technically 22 in his body, but where 22, as a proxy of Joe, has the conversation with his mom at the tailor shop, getting his suit made, where he basically figures out, like, she doesn't want him to end up hurt and feeling like he spent his entire life's mission on something that he didn't ultimately see through like his dad did. And so she's essentially just scared for him to fail, not so much criticizing him for being ambitious. And it was weird in that moment, like, because Joe, this was not explicit, but he is able to say those things to his mom because he's kind of he's not himself, essentially. He's having like an out-of-body experience. And as a result, he's able to basically get closure, or at least have their relationship reach a point where they're honest with each other that they were never able to before. And I think that's another part of the movie, is being real with yourself and being real with the people around you, which hopefully none of us have to go into the body of a cat to make that happen, but maybe the film makes us realize, hey, these are conversations that it's okay to have, as hard and serious. So that was my favorite scene.
Yeah, that's
100%.
a great scene. If that scene didn't affect you emotionally, you don't have emotions.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that, it's going to make you reflect and be like, maybe there are some things I should have said to this person, or maybe these are conversations we didn't have. But it goes back and just cements in the effect of Pixar and Disney, and like they can put a powerful punch in animated films, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and they're just so, I don't know, man, so good at it.
It's good.
If it doesn't work, it comes across as like, dude, who do you think you are? But it, for some reason, always works. All right, Nate, what was your best scene?
So I hope Banner has some thoughts on this too, because I was thinking of him as the scene came along, and I was making some notes on it. But what? So when Joe finally gets back in his body, he gets the job in the quartet. He goes back to his place. He sits down, empties his pockets, he starts playing some piano. Then finally, he looks for inspiration, finds all the things in his pocket, lays it out, and he starts just improvising some chords, some notes along the piano. And it was really cool seeing like the development of, even on a small scale, it was like 30 seconds, but to seeing the development of a score and how it can like convey emotion and really make a film. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's not what this was, but it was kind of showing you can look at this object and there could be music playing behind you, and then all of a sudden you get an emotion, you get a feeling, and you can relate that to something. And I thought that was really cool, how they were laying that out and scanning across the items, and the keys would change, would go from major to minor. So obviously major, uplifting for all you music people out there, and then it goes to a minor key, and then you kind of get that dark undertone and joyfulness in a major, and then all this kind of stuff. So it was cool seeing that develop, and how they were showing him kind of relating those items to like joyfulness and sorrow and all these other emotions in a small amount of time. It was pretty cool.
That scene was that was my second choice. It was hard to pick. But yeah, when he enters into the zone, willingly, and knowing what he's doing for the first time, like you said, the score in the whole movie was very impactful. And when you got a movie that's so kind of out there in concepts, you have to have a score that's going to kind of keep you grounded and help you understand what you're supposed to be feeling in each moment. And that was one that I agree, it really stood out as a positive moment for the score to help reinforce the message they're trying to get across.
It obviously put a spotlight on the music at that point, which I'll go a whole movie or whatever and not really notice the music, but they were forcing you in a good way to actually listen to it and be like, hey, look what we're doing here, and look what he's doing in creating this music. And it's pretty awesome. It was well done. I enjoyed it.
It's tough to have a good score in a movie that is so
visual
immersed in music already, when the idea and a lot of the themes in the movie are already musical, and then to have a good score on top of that, it's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so cool about it. And I've always been envious. Someone like Nate can just pick up a guitar and have it sound like it's not like two raccoons beating the shit out of each other in an alleyway. I don't have that ability. And Joe in the movie, like, music is his way of like connecting with that other side of the world. And I thought that, like, I don't know of a Pixar movie that centers around, maybe there's a little bit of it in Ratatouille, just like setting the stage in Paris, but this obviously had the score and then the musical element of it. Banner, like you said, it wasn't necessarily like lyrics and Disney songs like we're accustomed to, but like the instrumentals that were used in this
Mhm.
film, to my knowledge, are really unprecedented in a Disney Pixar film, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, on to the impact of this film. So I'll just start off by saying this. Maybe varying degrees, but I think for the most part, I mean, pretty good year for Disney Pixar. Onward, I thought was really good. I know
Great.
some people had
Solid.
mixed emotions. And then Soul, I mean, really just rounding out the new year. So if anyone out there was worried that Disney Pixar, I know Disney's going to be asking for a larger quantity of production from them going forward. If anyone's worried that things are going to start to get watered down or that the quality will decline, I mean, you can just relax, because a big time 2 for 2 this year, and I guess we can have the debate later which one we liked more, but two films, again, that tugged at the heartstrings, had great vocal performances, and did something really unique, even based on the standard that I hold Pixar to, and Onward and Soul. So strong way to round out the year. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this just shows the longevity and the future impact of Disney and how it's, or Disney and Pixar and Disney Plus, now the new streaming platform is gonna go on, and it's not gonna skip any beats. And this is something I had in the notes, and this is a good time to bring it up. But what I mentioned earlier when Banner randomly mentioned Up, Pete Docter directed Up. He also directed Monsters Inc. and Inside Out.
Jesus.
Which
Wow.
when I first saw this trailer, I was like, dude, super big Inside Out
Yeah.
feelings on this
Big
one.
time Inside Out vibe.
And so I saw that, I was like, oh, this totally makes sense. He's been a writer on a shit ton of stuff too, and he's been involved in a ton. But just showing the longevity of all this, and yeah, you got when did Monsters Inc. come out? Early
Oh,
aughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, 03 maybe.
And so they've got these fucking powerhouse directors and writers and all this stuff that can stick with them for 20 plus years and keep churning out this great content. It's phenomenal. So impact going forward, I think you got to look at the past, and it shows what it's going to be going forward, and there's no stopping it. It's going to be fantastic, and they're going to keep churning out this awesome material.
Banner?
Yeah, I echo a lot of what you said. I mean, this is, like you
Thank
said
you.
earlier, I don't want to call it a paint by numbers or this is a
Sorry to distract you. I just found
yes, that really
Doctor
distracted.
online that I sent to everyone.
He's a great creative genius. He's maybe not the best
Stop.
looker.
Let's be honest, he's goofy as hell looking.
He's a goofy looking guy, but we love him.
I mean, he's a genius. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. I don't care what he looks like.
He's gonna get more pussy than I ever will my whole life.
Yeah.
That's how smart he is.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no, I
Tanner.
think this is what Pixar does good. And it'll be very, very interesting to see in the next 10 years as they're asked to do more and more content, because for Disney, I mean, obviously it's going to be for Disney Plus, but as they're asked to do more and more content, are their stories going to be diminished, or are they going to start to kind of recycle some of the same stories? We'll see. Thus far, they haven't. They've done similar concepts. Like we said, this had a kind of an up feel to it. It also had an inside out feel, which is funny that he directed both of those. Makes sense. I could almost see an Up Inside Out crossover, maybe like 45-minute Disney Plus special. Just because they go, I mean, the two ideas kind of go together so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what would happen if a unborn soul or even an old soul comes back and somehow can talk to its own consciousness? I don't know. It's the concept of both of those movies are so kind of out there that it would work.
There's something there.
That'll lead us into rewatchability. And before we get into that, I actually have a couple sort of spin-off questions that I think fit into this part of the review perfectly. So, Banner, I just kind of thought of this as you were talking right now about a potential like crossover short film. How would you guys feel about like a Disney Plus series of shorts where it shows 22 being mentored by a lot of the famous historical figures
Give it to
in
me.
like each one of the
for
shorts?
sure.
I'd
They've
watch,
already planted the
I'd
seed
watch
for
10,
it.
20-minute episodes of that.
Well, I'm thinking like a 5-minute short where like this one is Abe Lincoln trying to mentor 22.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
next
they've
one would be
already
like,
planted the seed. Yeah, it's gonna. That's like easy money right there for them.
Because those are some of the best comedic moments, like the cutaways. It was like Family Guy, almost the way they just cut away to a gag.
Yeah.
It worked.
You remember that time that
That Archimedes was my mentor. But another thing I want to ask you guys before we get into rewatchability, or maybe even tying in, do you think that this has any potential for a sequel or some type of spin-off film? Nate, you can go first.
That's great. I don't know if it's a film, but yeah, I could definitely see some of these like shorts or anything like that kind of spinning off with kind of the past mentors. I think that's something that's really feasible. Getting like a spin-off of a movie that it's kind of tough. I can't really piece anything together. And I literally just got done watching this movie 30 minutes ago. So I'm going to have some time to let it meld a little bit. But the shorts, I think, is something that would be really great for anything going forward.
Banner, how about you? I was wondering, not to put an idea in your head, but would it be disingenuous or maybe just cool if there was a sequel or a prequel that followed maybe Joe and didn't even involve The Great Before?
See, I was actually going to say, all right, so we've seen The Great Before. We spent quite a bit of time there. We learned the significance of it, blah, blah, blah. Now, the only way I could see them going of making a sequel is exploring The Great Beyond at more depth. Okay, yeah. What happens when you actually go into the little white light and bug zap away like they were doing in the movie? That's the only place that I could go, that I can see them going. Possibly, maybe like whether they use Joe or not. He's ready to go to the Great Beyond. Obviously, he's been through this experience, so he knows what it's like. And he tries to go to the Great Beyond, and he can't get there for some reason. And he has to come back and mentor somebody else, or there's some reason that he can't get to the Great Beyond, and he has to accomplish this task before he can get there, while either teaching somebody or helping learn something himself along the way.
Now, just as we're riffing on all this stuff, it puts ideas in my head. So I think that's something that's actually possible. I hadn't thought of it before. But do you think this would leave too much to the audience's desire if they jump straight ahead to 22 dying and going to the Great Beyond and then using her as some way? I feel like they could probably fill it in with flashbacks through her life. But I think that would be kind of an interesting dynamic.
Dang, that would be cool, actually, seeing 22's life.
And then seeing Joe mentor her navigating the Great Beyond.
Could be.
Again. Or maybe she becomes a mentor for the people in the Great Before.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little
with
too
Mr.
cheap
Disney.
for Disney, though. Or for Pixar.
Nate, he's very dead, though.
Oh. Mr.
Actually,
Disney.
Still make the call. I don't know. Maybe you never know.
I'll find a number.
Quickly then, rewatchability. I think this is something I will revisit. I watched Onward. I combined Up and Onward into one movie. I watched Onward like a week after it came out again, because that one, I think just the world there was so interesting. I wanted to go visit it again. This one was a little bit heavier, so it'll probably take me maybe like at the end of the year, maybe next year. I'll watch it again. But I think this is definitely one I'll go back and check out at some point. How about you, Nate?
Yeah, for sure. I think this will be one that we'll go back and revisit at some point. Like I said, it might be a minute, but I feel like there's going to be set things you can pick up in the movie that you may have missed the first time. Some maybe subtle things that you kind of see that were maybe some more adult themes that were added in that you didn't see the first time. But you get those all the time with Disney and Pixar films. So definite rewatchability on our side.
Brian?
I'm going to say this is 100% a rewatchable movie. This is a perfect movie to watch between the exact time right now, between Christmas and New Year's. Everybody's wanting to make New Year's resolutions. Everybody's kind of reflecting on the last year and how they're going to make next year better. I think this movie can get you in a great state of mind to have those conversations with yourself.
Yeah.
That was pretty deep there, but that's what this movie is. This isn't your typical Disney animated, we have to save a princess movie, you know?
Yeah, I think if you're cynical at all about 2020, which a lot of people reasonably are, this is a good one to just kind of have you put things in perspective, find the thing you're passionate about, and maybe just put you in a better state of mind, hopefully. Although it takes a little while getting there, but because 22, I think there's moments where we're all kind of like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. Like,
Yeah.
what's the point?
Let's get this shit over with.
Yep.
But then when she eats that pizza, I'm like, well, fuck, pizza is pretty good. So
I'm
Did
like,
anybody else
fuck.
like immediately want to go and make pizza?
Oh yeah, that was like I will be having that in the next few days.
yeah, I was getting really disappointed when they were in the Hall of Everything eating the fake pizza. I was like, how do we get to real pizza in this movie? Because I
Yeah,
would still eat the fake.
Yeah, I'm still going to do it, even though it's not giving me anything.
All right, any closing thoughts on Soul, Brian?
No, I really, really enjoyed it. I will definitely go back and watch it again. And this is one of those potentially timeless movies that no matter what age you are, old, middle-aged, or young, you're going to be able to get something out of it. You're really going to enjoy this movie for a various of different reasons.
Nate?
Yeah, obviously I echo everything you guys said. I thought it was a great film, but I'll take my extra time here to throw in a few other notes I had, which are just fun facts that I saw or fun things. But when Joe's running around at the very beginning, there's a shoe store called Jimmy's Shoes, which I think is a play on Jimmy Choo, which are apparently like big like girl shoes. I don't know, women's shoes. They're like high heels. I don't know, but one of those things thrown in for the adults. And then I don't know if this is true, but any Disney or Pixar film that I see now and there are numbers, I'm always like, fuck, that has some significance to some writer. And the thing that popped up for me is over the PA, they said, Dr. So-and-so, call 3162. I'm like, now I'm thinking what 3162 means because
Brian, what's the room at Cal Berkeley that like Pixar was started in that they always have?
I can't remember.
I think it's
course,
113 or
That
116.
sounds right.
Yeah,
One of
I
those,
think
yeah.
113 does sound right.
I'm sure
One of
that's
those-
in the movie somewhere. We'll just have to find it.
That'll be on the rewatch. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe this movie started March 16th, 2020, because that would work with the numbers. But anytime I see or hear numbers, I'm like, that means something. I don't know what, but they're smart and they're funny. So
They don't just throw them in.
yeah, those are my few little things that I noticed.
All right, for the American hero Nate Thurman and the mad scientist Brian Banner, I'm the mayor Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro 4 Squad podcast. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Hope you enjoyed Soul as much as we did. Please follow us on Twitter at Bro4Squad. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words, you'll find us there and pretty much everywhere else. And check out everything that we post on our website, bro4squad.com. Till next time, we need to go in the Hall of Everything and play old video game consoles.
I'm gonna play some 1080 on N64.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
That was the first game I got for N64. Christmas, 1998, N64, 1080. Hell yeah.
I think Diddy Kong Racing is really underrated because although Mario Kart is like a better straight up racing game, Diddy Kong you get to do the like hydroplane